Hey, it's showtime. Welcome to Chill Skills Sporlan Tech Talks. The topic for this episode is Sporlan Spring 2021 Virtual Product Review. This is part two. What are we going to discuss today? Maybe some more new stuff?
More new stuff.
More new stuff. But you know what? Before we get into the middle of this, we should really address a question that was posed to us during the previous webinar. Last time when we presented part one, someone, a real smart butt, I won't name any names, Gene Ziegler, asked the question, what is a virtual product? Well, here's the answer. It's simply one. You know it's there, but you can't touch it.
You know, Jim, I've got actually a great example of that.
Yeah, what would it be?
If you think back about 9 months ago, toilet paper was a virtual product. You knew it existed, but you couldn't actually lay your hands on any of it.
That did pose a problem. We could elaborate on a lot of this, but it would get us in big trouble.
It would.
Here's a shameless promotion for the next webinar. On February 18th, we will present low pressure oil level control systems. You know, February 18th is coming up pretty quick. John, kind of sounds like we're doing more than one of these webinar deals per month.
It does seem that way.
You know, what the heck? I only signed up to do one of these per month. They better be prepared to just pay us a little bit more if they're going to ask us to cover another one. What do you think?
Sounds like a great idea to me, Jim.
Here are a few instructions. If the speaker on your computer doesn't work, you ought to do like John's getting ready to do and get a new computer.
That's right.
But there also should be a phone number somewhere on the invitation that you originally received for the webinar. But here it is on the slide using this fancy laser pointer, just in case you don't have it handy. As we move along and you have questions, you can type those questions into the Q&A window. We plan to answer some questions live. Sometimes we run out of time to do that. We will post answers online. However, if you hang on, there's a good bet we'll answer your question during the course of the webinar. And just so you know, we are recording this like we have done the others.
Indeed.
So you can go back, Facebook Live, you can see it, and it'll eventually be out on Sporlan YouTube. I think we got to edit it just a little bit before we put it on YouTube.
That's right.
Hello, I'm Jim Jansen. That's me right there. I'm Senior Application Engineer for the Sporlan application team. That's me on the left. I guess that senior application thing means I just got lots of gray hair. Isn't that what that means?
I'm not sure that's exactly what it refers to, but you know.
It could be. You must have, this guy joining me today is John Withouse. I think he has the charcoal gray hair. John's our senior principal engineer for the Sporlan division, and he's also a published author. He had an article or two in the AHR Journal. He's a consultant, and as I have said in the past, all around extra smart guy. We're really happy to have him with us again today. Thanks, John. You should say hi.
Good afternoon, everyone.
And Phyllis is also in the room. She's our communications director. Is that close enough, Phyllis? Yeah, she tells us what to do and when to do it. And every once in a while, we'll pay attention and listen to her. But for the most part, we don't. If you have any follow-up questions or feedback, you can contact us via email. Each one of our email addresses is underneath our image. Or you can always call 636-239-1111. Did I say that right?
I believe you did.
This is the general number for our headquarters in Washington, Missouri. I got corrected by somebody. Last time I said something about, and a human will answer the phone. Well, I think when you call that number, you get one of those despicable automated, I was going to say automated teller machines, but you get one of those automated answering contraptions that will get you to a human in either customer service, tech support, or wherever you need to go.
Yes, it will.
Now, here's a new Sporlan TEV, the FX series thermostatic expansion valve. This is an OEM-only residential air conditioning valve. Now, you can probably get away with some light commercial applications as well. That F over here stands for forged. And as you can see, this is a forged body valve. We've done this before. The likes of the archetypal G and EG valves.
Yes.
There are a whole lot of neat features on this valve. The forged body, the stainless steel diaphragm housing, element assembly, stainless steel capillary tube, and the sensing bulb that's hiding out back behind this valve. You know, we always say Thermostatic expansion valves control superheat at the bulb location. Well, we just don't say where the bulb's located right now. Let's talk about some of those neat features right now. We have removed the stainless steel capillary tube and the bulb and the external equalizer from this image to kind of clean it up. We did this so that you could focus on the diaphragm housing and the unique forged body. Notice these fittings are integral to the body of the valve.
All a single forging.
That means this thing is just hell for stout. It's a tough little valve.
And it's very leak resistant.
So the fittings in this configuration are actually part of the forged body. That means you already answered it.
Fewer braze joints.
So that's
less opportunity for leak.
And then, you know, those pesky little stickers and decals that we put all over it, they fade, peel, and disappear with time and wear. Well, you probably already noticed some of this action over here with the 2D data matrix and the impressed information directly into the brass body. I'm going to think those would be permanent.
They are.
Well, as permanent as they can be. That information includes things like a customer part number, the Sporlan part number, the Sporlan description, refrigerant designation, air test settings, serial number. Wow.
And that is laser engraved, so it is about as permanent a marking as we can possibly make.
As you're going to get. This FX includes a single push rod with balance port construction. This means the only things telling the valve what to do are bulb pressure, equalizer pressure, and spring pressure, pretty much like it ought to be. That way, this can control superheat at the bulb location just like it's supposed to be. You know, during practice, I said something else and it just almost slipped up there, didn't it? The laser welded stainless steel element means there's no heat distortion like you might see with other types of welders, you know, like maybe a TIG or a plasma welder. That contributes to the life cycle performance. The stainless steel capillary tube right here that connects the sensing bulb to the element is tough and durable. And again, it is welded instead of being brazed. These stainless steel capillary tubes are really tough. John, how about that bend test they do over in the plant?
Where the capillary tube is bent repeatedly, and it actually does very well in that test, particularly compared to your older copper cap tubes.
You know, something I can do here right now, John, is I can actually show folks one to give them a feel for it. And there's even the sensing bulb right there. I kind of feel like one of those ladies online that's selling the jewelry. You know, hurry up. We only have 10 left. You better get your order in now.
We have more than 10 left, I think.
Okay, well, or we'll make more.
We'll make more.
But here, this is a nice example of this valve right here. Actually, this was one instance where Phyllis did say, hey, you know, you got some samples to show, and I about messed up.
Almost did.
Now, so far, we have only suggested the FX valve is suitable for residential air conditioning applications. Now, and light commercial, you know, depending on the size of the system, but that's not all. With Sporlan's balance port construction, the FX can actually control flow in both directions. Yep, that's right.
It can.
That means this valve would work just fine on a package heat pump. We can also configure it to include traditional ODF copper fittings, chat lift connections. You know, the example I showed had chat lift connections. And since we opened the door to the discussion on heat pumps, you can also specify the FX with an optional internal check valve. Guess that would be an FXC. It's available with an adjustment assembly, like you would expect for test and verification purposes. And here's an example of that, so you can see the sides of the adjustment mechanism that's built into this valve right there. See that? Again, I feel like that, you know, selling jewelry online, you know, here we go. Ultimately, many OEMs would specify that valve that way initially for test and verification, but of course, with a fixed setting.
Fixed setting for
production.
Production setting,
yeah, yeah, that would make complete sense. There are a multitude of design features that have contributed to the life cycle performance of the FX. Things like that laser welded element. That really goes a long way to make it tough. That's a big deal. The stainless steel cap tube, and oh gosh, we're showing the sensing bulb there. And the stainless steel capillary tube and sensing bulb. And as, for the most part, compared to other expansion valve, the FX does have a relatively small footprint.
It's a very compact piece.
The FX is available in a variety of configurations, including ODF style fittings, chat lift, adjustable and non-adjustable. We've already talked about that. Capacity, thermostatic charge, and refrigerant compatibility is patterned pretty much after the current HX valve. Now, while the HX had a fixed nozzle choice, here I think I got an example of that right here.
Yep.
Here's part of an HX, and here's the nozzle. It was a one size fits all kind of approach.
Yep.
The new FX, F for forged, has selectable nozzles that can be fitted in here.
Right.
There's several.
Choice of nozzles that can be pressed into the outlet to help optimize the distributor performance for different capacity levels of the valve.
Who would have ever thought of that?
Apparently we did.
This is going to make for an easy and straightforward transition when the time comes. We already mentioned the more permanent valve identification. Of course, the FX is UL recognized. Now, we've got a few details here that we wanted to convey to you, like maximum installation temperature. You know, that's not unusual to have a 250-degree limitation. We don't want you to barbecue the inside of the valve and ruin it. Ambient temperature range. I guess this means you could be exposed to temperatures as low as -40 F and as high as 190 degrees F.
That's correct.
Maximum rated pressure. At a pressure of that magnitude, 700 PSIG, that opens the door for a lot of different applications with high pressure refrigerants.
Yep, would be valid for just about any of the current or newer refrigerants that are under consideration for air conditioning.
And then maybe one last time, I'll show a nice, this nice valve here. Kind of gives you an image of, I mean, it's not more than images, it's actually the real deal right here. That's it. The FX is being readied for a spring launch. Notice I didn't say what year, but a spring launch, seriously. And remember all that important information that is included right here on the body of the valve. You can kind of see that right there. And UL recognized. Now, here is a relatively new valve, the Sporlan NX thermostatic expansion valve. If you attended the previous AHR Expo and you're paying attention, you might just already be familiar with this product. Here we have images of both an internally equalized version and an externally equalized version. This valve would be right at home on just about any refrigeration application that you might encounter. It also features that laser welded stainless steel element, capillary tube, and sensing bulb for good reliability and long life. Here's just one example right here of this valve right here. Now, let's take a look at the next slide we got here, John, so that we can focus on the valve body and the stainless steel element. Okay, now before you say anything, these are not examples of our new AEV. And they kind of look like it.
That's correct. We just have removed the cap tube and bulb for clarity on the slide.
So we can get a better look at the nicely welded stainless steel element assembly. And John, is that a forged body again?
That would be another forged body.
Wow. Tough and durable. Notice again that laser welded stainless steel element, no heat distortion here. Multiple configurations are available. We even have one that's fitted with our neat little 3427 removable strainer. I just tried to remove it. It's a little snugger than I could get apart. Notice we got a full hex flat on that, as you can see here in the slide. I might have had a little something to do with that years ago. That's a full nut construction. You can get a wrench on it. It's got a 100 mesh strainer screen. Just make sure you've isolated the valve from system pressure before you have at that. The NX is always configured with straight through construction, as you see here. Inlet, outlet, and so on. Externally equalized, internally equalized, and again with a strainer option. And it might not look like it, but each one of these has an adjustment assembly. This kind of looks like a traditional valve with a bottom outlet that's non-adjustable. These, however, have an adjustment assembly that you can access by removing that bottom cap, and you can see there's an adjustment mechanism in there. Pretty neat, huh?
It is.
You know, John, something I didn't mention with the FX valve, the single push rod construction really helps with precise pin and port alignment on these valves. You know, that really helps to further the ability of that valve to control superheat.
Yes, it does.
You can't say enough about the stainless steel element assembly either. And we've removed some of the ancillary components in this view as well for a better view of both the body, the strainer assembly here. And again, I can't say enough about that tough little element. And as you would expect with Sporlan valves, got the option for selective charges, and that's on board for application optimization.
That's correct.
The NX is available from 1/6 up to 8 tons, depending upon the refrigerant in the system and the system conditions. And again, with our wide range of selective charges, the NX is suitable for most all of the common refrigerants. We'll get into some more of that a little later. The compact design makes it ideal for food service and food retail applications. And the stainless steel construction on the element, cap, tube, and bulb aid in these applications. That means no steel.
No steel, no possibilities for rust.
No parts that can rust.
And since in some of those applications, some of the valves are in a pretty harsh environment, should help definitely lengthen the life of them and help with durability and reliability in situations where things are being cleaned and serviced.
Wow. So that means you could use the NX on ice machines, like we depict here, frozen drink dispensers, commercial kitchen refrigerators, and freezers. Now, we're also talking about that there's some unique design within the system that minimizes debris buildup.
Indeed.
What do you know about that, John? You know anything about that?
The internal architecture of the valve makes it basically self-cleaning as the valve opens in response to superheat.
That's just too cool. Oh, and we already said that they're all fitted with an adjustment assembly, right? Every single one of them. Again, that bottom cap is actually a seal cap. You just remove the cap and use a 3/16 hex or Allen style wrench to adjust it. You know, in some ways, John, that sort of reminds me of the old Sporlan NI valve.
There are definite similarities.
Yeah, except this is a straight through construction valve and you can adjust it while it's under system pressure.
Yes,
that's
can.
A difference.
Yep.
Refrigerant compatibility and lubrication compatibility, be it mineral oil, POE, or PVE. We take a look at the details on the slide. This is similar to what we saw on the FX series valve. You know, we got a 250 degree F limit for installation temperature. We don't want you to barbecue the valve. We got ambient temperature range, -40 to 190 degrees F, maximum rated pressure. I mean, this is really targeted for refrigeration applications, but, you know, I guess there's some instances where customers want to use 410A in those kind of applications. I guess it would, that would lend itself to that. UL recognition. And it's very similar in size to the FX TEV that we discussed earlier. And if I had an FX TEV here, I would hold them up beside one another. Oh, look at there, it magically appeared. And if you look at these two, they're not that far off in overall size. I mean, there's some differences between them, but overall lay-in is not that different.
And both of them very compact.
And, you know, we mentioned the old NI valve earlier. Really, in some ways, it's even more patterned after the FB. And again, this one is scheduled for a spring launch. Here's another product that we presented at the previous AHR Expo, but it's still relatively new. It's the Sporlan Universal TEV Replacement Kit. It comes packaged with pretty much everything an air conditioning technician needs to complete a service call. TEVs are available with ODF copper style fittings, our chat lift connections like you see here. We've also got adapters in the kit to fit most common evaporator inlets, both Aeroquip and chat lift. There's a bulb strap. That's a multi-perforated brass knuckle slicer.
Yes.
They do work, though.
They do work.
They do a nice job. This is looks like the extra wide version that we have made up. Bulb insulation tape. And since most of today's residential equipment utilize the chat lift style connection on the indoor coil, we also have a kit that's already set up that way with chat lift style connections. You see it right here. Each valve comes with an external equalizer configured with a 30-inch equalizer line. You can see that here. And look at there. What's on the end of that equalizer line, John?
That looks suspiciously like a 1/4-inch SAE flare nut.
I bet it is. Let's look at this next slide. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Use this kit to replace just about any major air conditioning OEM's valve. All kits feature an adjustable valve. Use this kit to retrofit and upgrade existing equipment. And you know what? This is actually a reasonably nice placement of the outdoor units here. I mean, you can actually, there's space between them.
Quite good.
They don't have a bunch of undergrowth around them blocking airflow. These might have a fighting chance of working right.
They could.
The valves in the kits are the Sporlan HX. Actually, probably more appropriately, they're HXCAE. Boy, that's a mouthful.
It is.
So all that means is you got the HX with the integral check valve, an adjustment assembly, and an external equalizer. And the HX are balanced port with the single push rod construction with that precise pin and port alignment for good superheat control, which is ultimately what these things are supposed to do. Control superheat at the bulb location. Remember, all of the kits feature the HXC. That means you got an integral check valve. It's perfectly fine to use this valve on straight in air conditioning applications, though. Right, John?
Absolutely. That check valve will just never come into play in a straight air conditioning application.
If the system happens to be a heat pump, well, the built-in check valve provides for reverse flow. Now, because they have check valves, that does preclude the application on a packaged heat pump as a biflow control.
It does. Yeah, you can't use them that way.
Durable, corrosion-resistant, long-life stainless steel diaphragm with welded construction, all part of the deal. Here are some of the key features of the valve in the kit. We've got an anti-hunt thermostatic charge. They're all externally adjustable. They're externally equalized. And here's a little better detail of that 30-inch line and the 1/4-inch flare nut.
I was right, wasn't I?
You're just smart that way. Good thing I got you along. And then we've got the adapters, the Aero style adapter fitting and the chat lift adapter fitting. Gives you flexibility. Here's an overview of the kits that are currently in the system that we have set up. You'll see TVs in this matrix that have chat lift fittings, chat lift, and ODF fittings, ODF. Thermostatic charges that accommodate R22 and 410A. These are ready to order. Now go out and do your job and go buy some of these kits. And to make it easier for you to do your job, you can buy these kits at any authorized Sporlan or Parker wholesaler. Now, we also have a relatively new core to talk about today. This is one of the 48 cubic inch replaceable cores that fit into the C48, C96, 144, and 192 series shells. It almost sounds like we're calling a football hike thing. You know, we got the big game coming up here pretty soon. This core is new, and then again, it isn't because it's been launched and it's out there, right?
It is currently available.
The new RCA 48 is the next generation of the RC 4864. The RC 48 is a drop-in replacement for the RC 4864. And while there are some slight changes to the core geometry, they still fit inside the same shells with the same internal assemblies. From a performance standpoint, there are no changes to the compatible refrigerants, flow capacity, water capacity, acid capacity, or filtration ratings. And while we've got a nice depiction of it right here in the slide, here also is the actual core
the
itself,
real deal.
The real deal right there. You'll notice some slight coloration difference from the RC 4864 here to the RCA 48. This ultimately comes down to the clay and the other elements where the raw materials were mined, as well as the actual binder process that is used to hold all the desiccants together. All of the Parker Sporlan cores are proudly made in the USA. I'm willing to bet you don't see that too many other places.
I would take that bet. Yeah.
You got to ask me how much I'm going to bet. You know, I don't have a whole lot on me.
How much would you bet, Jim?
I don't know, a couple bucks for sure. Maybe
lunch,
50. I bet lunch at Subway.
Lunch at Subway?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're on. With the new RCA 48, we also just wanted to remind everybody of the entire desiccant core range and what the most popular applications happen to be. Now, I do have some actual samples that I'll hold up here in just a minute. The RCW 48 is the high water capacity core. That's over here. With the highest amount of molecular sieve, this core has the highest amount of water capacity and was specifically designed and launched as the usage of polyol ester lubricants rose in popularity. Those POEs are hydrophilic. Yeah, that. Boy, I almost screwed that up. You gotta watch how you say that word.
Yes, you do.
You really need all the water capacity you can get to keep these systems dry. The RCA 48 is the high acid capacity core. See a pattern going on here? And then
W, water,
A, acid.
Yeah.
While this core has good water capacity, it also has the highest amount of activated alumina in the core structure, which provides the most acid capacity of any of our cores. That's a misconception a lot of people have. They don't understand that this is the core that really goes after the acid issue. This is also considered our standard core, and it is really reliable when you have a high duty cycle system or higher discharge temperatures where acids are more likely to be formed. Now over here, we got the RC 4864HH. When wax removal and cleanup are required, this is the core to use.
That is the one to use.
It has molecular sieve and alumina for water and acid capacity, but it's got a third active ingredient, activated charcoal. The charcoal, that HH component, that's what makes it an HH core, provide a couple of benefits that not everybody may or may not. They may not know about that. The charcoal provides for wax capacity. So this is extremely popular in applications using natural lubricants where wax could start to precipitate at low temperatures. It also has large pores that are great at collecting various contaminants generated from a compressor burnout. Now, here is an actual example of that core. And you can see that it does have a distinct visual difference in appearance. Yep. I'm almost blocking our faces there with these, but I hope nobody minds.
Oh, I think it'll be fine.
So you can easily distinguish this core from any of the others. Some people might know.
You can definitely tell that it has the activated charcoal
in
it.
Right. Now, some folks may not realize this, but originally the HH kind of depends who you ask. Some people say it stood for Hoffman and Hussman. Hoffman was the chemist and the product manager and the design engineer. We were specifically concocting this for Hussman back at the day. Now, some people say it stands for Herman and Harry, our two founders. I guess it kind of depends who you ask.
Indeed.
Parker's VS series filter dryers are ideal for protecting air conditioning systems, compressors, and other system components from the harmful effects of moisture, acid, and solid debris. This product is ideal for air conditioning and heat pump OEM applications. So this is an OEM only product.
OEM only product.
That FX valve is kind of the same deal. That's an OEM only product at this point. And yes, there's a biflow version. So we got single flow, biflow. I'm not going to say it. Introduced at the previous AHR Expo, we were going to tell you more about it right now. And you're going to learn that this is like I said, an OEM only product, and it's a Parker branded product, VS series. The high acid capacity, well, high capacity anyway, solid core design is an excellent choice for moisture and acid protection. So I've kind of already said that. Air conditioning systems is also fitted with a 10 micron outlet filter at 50% efficiency, all while maximizing system life and reliability. Again, it is designed for air conditioning and heat pump systems that would be probably no bigger than 10 tons. Wouldn't you say, John?
10 tons and smaller.
That means you can get it in a single direction flow and heat pump versions as well. You know, John, I can't help but say, don't you think this homeowner needs to maybe trim some of the foliage around this outdoor unit?
Time to trim the shrubbery just a bit.
Yeah, maybe so.
Let that thing breathe.
Yeah. Again, we noted all these high points on the slide. Less than 10 tons, single flow and biflow versions. The compact design reduces the refrigerant charge requirements, which you know all about refrigerants, John. That's a really good thing, to reduce the amount of refrigerant. Being able to
reduce the charge is a good thing.
The pressure drop across it is reduced, and of course, the weight's reduced. I wish you could simply do that to me. The maximum rated pressure is 700 psi-G, 48 bar, contributes to its ability to handle high pressure refrigerants like 410A. So that's right here. Multiple 3/8 ODF. That just says 3 ODF, but they meant 3/8, right? Yeah, those product managers, you just can't trust them to do a good job, you know. Multiple 3/8. No offense, Chris, we love you. The multiple 3/8 ODF fitting length options are available, making it easy to install. And typically, we would apply a high performance epoxy powder coat for corrosion protection, as you can see here in both of these examples. However, with this product, we also have a stainless steel shell option available for even better corrosion protection, and it undergoes a special oven brazing operation to join the copper fittings. And yes, we even, for one more step, we even apply that high performance epoxy coating over the stainless steel shell as well,
making it a highly durable product. Coastal areas, salt water.
And it just looks better. And here, kind of show you, I mean, it's not, the production version's not going to look like this, but that shows you we peeled we just haven't coated it all the way. You can see the underlay of the shell, the material underneath the protective coating is stainless.
Right.
And this gives you a relative indication of the size. Notice I'm being good.
It's a very compact
it is
piece for its capacity.
Compatible with the current refrigerants on the market. And John, what about new refrigerants that might be coming along?
Well, you know, our incumbent air conditioning refrigerant is obviously R410A, but with things that are going on in the regulatory environment, we're probably going to be seeing some new refrigerants coming out. They're going to be very much like R410A. Those could include things like straight R32 and blends like R452B or R454B. And this product line is already completely compatible with all those refrigerants.
What a deal. And there's multiple shell sizes like you can see over here. So it's easily optimized for the system size. And hey, not only have OEMs approved it, but we've got RoHS and REACH compliance. It's even UL recognized. And since somebody might just ask, John, do you happen to know the UL file number off the top of your head? Do you?
Off the top of my head, no, but
No.
I can read it for you.
Okay. Well, since you didn't know it, it's SA 1756-SMGT2/SMGT8. Just happen to know that.
Well, I couldn't have done it with the flair that you just did. So
I realize, and John, I was kind of counting on you showing up in your Carhartt bibs today. And I think you copied me. I mean, we just kind of look like
sorry, I
twins.
showed up in my marketing shirt today.
Yeah, I don't know what to say about that. I could have had fun with if you. Wow, the time really went by fast. Almost
easy for you to say.
Easy for me to say. So we're wrapping this up. If you have any questions, let us know. John, do we have any questions we ought to address?
Let's see here. Here's one that might be a good question. Question. Why, and this refers back to our TEVs that we were looking at earlier. Why was the equalizer line left as copper tubing instead of stainless like the sensing element tubing?
Well, you said equalizer line.
Equalizer
right?
line.
The equalizer line, I think the reason for that has to do with the fact that we're going to most likely connect it to a copper suction line.
That's correct.
And
That's
I think
why.
that gives you a lot of options that would be complicated if it were stainless.
Mm-hmm.
And you were going to make a stainless to copper joint out in the field.
That's correct.
I think that's the deal. And you know what, John, it looks like we're a few minutes over. So I'm just going to say that you can always contact us by calling our U.S. headquarters office at 636-239-1111. You can call tech support directly at 636-392-3906. Always shoot us an email at svdtechsupport@parker.com. And of course, we're there 24/7 at sporlan.com as a resource for you. We have things like product literature, our virtual engineer selection program software package, and a whole host of other things. You can view an encore performance of this webinar on Facebook or YouTube. It will appear on Facebook first and on the YouTube channel a little later. Eventually, it'll be out there for you to review again and again and again. And don't forget, sporlan.com, you can get access to all these neat things and you can stay connected with us. Remember, on February the 18th, we have a low pressure oil level control systems webinar. That's only 2 weeks away, John.
It is.
I don't know. How are we ever going to be able to take 2 weeks off? I guess not. I guess we're not.
We can.
This concludes our webinar for today. Thanks for being here with us. Please join us next time.
Thanks, everyone.